Well, the first thing it does is it gives you a feeling of euphoria. It's used in many medical situations as a sort of an anaesthetic. It makes people feel happy. That's why it's often termed laughing gas. But at the same time, it can make you feel dizzy, certainly lose concentration, and most certainly lead to a detriment in physical performance and mental performance.
So what exactly does it do to the body? I think we can show a graphic that illustrates it to a certain extent. Give us an idea of what it does to you when you take it.
Well, there's a short-term hit, which is that feeling of euphoria, that feeling of dizziness, that feeling of a loss of coordination. But if you take it repeatedly over a long period of time, then we know it can, as the graphic says, lead to a deficiency in vitamin B12, which can affect the nervous system, create numbness and tingling, and particularly a loss of feeling in the extremities, so the fingers and the hands and the feet as well. That's, of course, not conducive to being a top-level footballer. At the same time, it can also cause a problem called anemia, which is a loss in the ability to transport oxygen around the body. And again, that is not necessarily what you would want to have happening to you if you want to take part in top-level sport. So all the research would suggest that taking the laughing gas, the nitrous oxide, both over the short term and indeed the longer term, is not what you would expect of somebody who wants to take part in top-level sport.
And those are the effects, are they, of regular use?
Yeah, well, the impaired judgment and acting carelessly is the short-term hit. You're in a situation a bit like taking too much alcohol. And of course, if you take nitrous oxide with alcohol, which often happens in a nightclub situation, clearly the problems are exacerbated even further, and the risk of falling over, injuring yourself and getting hurt is quite extreme. But certainly the longer term decrease in vitamin B2 and the anemia and the problems with oxygen carrying capacity are something that you'd see with more longer term habitual users of nitrous oxide.
Well, let's take a look at the effects of longer term habitual users of smoking, perhaps.
Yeah,
compare the risk of laughing gas to smoking. It looks like there are many more issues that can be raised by smoking. How does it compare?
There are indeed, and I think the key thing is that with smoking what you've got is quite severe medical problems, and we know that people who smoke regularly will certainly have medical issues that will be with them for a long period of time, in many cases are very hard to reverse. And again, as we've seen in soccer recently, it's not something that we would be advocating high-level performers in any sport, let alone football, to do, because it decreases that ability to perform at the highest level. And in sport, as we see so regularly and in so many different sports, the difference between success and failure is so small. And if you don't look after your body properly, both on and off the field of play, and particularly make sure that you hydrate and refuel and train properly, then your chances of getting to the top and performing at your best, and indeed staying at the top for a long time, are greatly reduced.
So we talked about the kind of the effects in the moment and also the effects longer term, but what about the kind of hangover effect? If someone was to take laughing gas on a Friday night and play a
Concerned about, having worked in sport for over 30 years, is the impact that it can have on younger people, because most of our top sports people should see themselves as role models for young people who want to aspire to getting to the top. And if we see the sorts of images that we have done today and hear the stories about a young person who was at the start of his career taking this substance, then that doesn't, in my mind, send out the right messages to youngsters who want to get to the top in whatever sport it is. They see this happening and they think it's something that they could copy, and most certainly it is not.
OK, John Brewer, very interesting to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks very much indeed.